Hey everyone, you're watching Luxurious Tale. If you enjoy rich, emotional stories with powerful twists, kindly hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's dive straight into today's story. Oliver Jackson had always been surrounded by luxury, but luxury had long stopped meaning comfort. His days were filled with meetings, champagne dinners, forced smiles, and women who measured his worth by the numbers on his bank statements rather than the depth of his character. After the humiliating collapse of his engagement, when he discovered his fiancée had been secretly draining his accounts and mocking him with her friends, something inside him broke. The betrayal didn't just hurt, it exhausted him. He realized that no one around him truly knew him, and worse, no one cared to try. He was simply the heir to Jackson Global Holdings, a walking fortune with a face attached. The loneliness that followed was heavier than any financial burden he had ever carried. One evening, sitting across from his father in the quiet study of their estate, Oliver confessed the emptiness he felt. He spoke of his desire to disappear, to live a life where no one bowed or flattered, where he could breathe without expectation. His father, a man hardened by decades of boardrooms and betrayal, listened carefully. Instead of dismissing the idea, he surprised Oliver by agreeing. He proposed a test: 3 months undercover in one of their regional branches, living on a modest salary, stripped of privilege. It would either cure Oliver of his illusions or teach him something money never could. Oliver accepted without hesitation. Within a week, Oliver Jackson vanished, replaced by Liam Stone, a junior IT assistant transferred quietly to a smaller city branch. His penthouse was exchanged for a cramped flat. His tailored suits for plain shirts. His driver for public transport. For the first time in years, no one recognized him. No one smiled too widely or lingered too long. And for the first time, Oliver felt strangely free, unaware that this experiment would soon entangle his heart in ways he never imagined. The branch office buzzed with hierarchy disguised as professionalism. Power flowed not through merit, but through proximity to influence, and no one embodied that better than Marcus Clark, the manager's son. Marcus strutted through the office with entitlement dripping from every word, barking orders he had no authority to give and humiliating staff for minor mistakes. Liam noticed quickly how people shrank around him, how laughter died when Marcus entered a room. It reminded him uncomfortably of the world he had escaped. Only this time, he was on the receiving end. It was during one of Marcus's loud tirades that Liam first noticed Grace Miller. She moved quietly through the office with a cleaning cart, her presence almost invisible to those too important to notice. Yet there was something calm and grounding about her. While others avoided eye contact, she met everyone with gentle politeness. When Marcus spilled coffee in his rage and barked for someone to clean it, Grace stepped forward without complaint. Liam watched as she cleaned not just the floor, but a stained shirt too, offering him a spare cleaning cloth with an apologetic smile, as if his misfortune were hers. Their first real conversation happened later that day in the break room. Liam found Grace eating a modest meal, carefully portioned, yet she offered him half without hesitation when she noticed he hadn't eaten. There was no pity in her gesture, only kindness. He was stunned by how easily she gave, how naturally she cared. In that moment, something shifted inside him. Grace Miller wasn't just different from the women of his past. She was real. Days turned into weeks, and Liam found himself looking forward to moments he once would have ignored. Grace spoke little about herself, but her actions spoke volumes. She worked longer hours than anyone, often cleaning after everyone had left, yet she never complained. Liam learned that she sent most of her earnings elsewhere, though she never said where. When he asked why she never accepted Marcus's lavish offers, expensive shoes left at her station, envelopes slipped into her locker, she smiled sadly and said dignity wasn't something money could buy back once lost. Marcus's obsession with Grace grew aggressive. He cornered her, threatened her job, mocked Liam openly for aiming above his station. Liam wanted to intervene, but every instinct he had as Oliver Jackson had to be restrained. Revealing himself would ruin everything. Instead, he stood beside Grace in quiet defiance, refusing to laugh at Marcus's jokes, refusing to step aside. It was the first time anyone had ever chosen Grace without expecting something in return. What Liam didn't know was that Grace Miller was a carefully chosen disguise. Her real name was Eleanor Smith, daughter of one of the most powerful tech moguls in the country. Raised in glass towers and private schools, Eleanor had grown suffocated by expectations and her mother's relentless pursuit of status. When her mother announced plans to marry her off to Oliver Jackson, a man she had never met but knew only by reputation, Eleanor panicked. She wanted no part in a life chosen for her, nor a love measured in headlines. Running away wasn't impulsive, it was strategic. Eleanor created Grace, a cleaner with no background worth investigating, and took a job in the one place no one would ever expect her to be. For the first time in her life, she was invisible. No cameras, no gossip, no men pretending to love her wealth. And in Liam Stone, she found something she never expected: respect without curiosity, protection without ownership. As their bond deepened, Eleanor struggled with guilt. Liam spoke openly about his past heartbreak, about feeling used and unseen. Every confession felt like a mirror held up to her own deception. Yet she couldn't bring herself to reveal the truth. Not yet. She needed to be certain that what they shared was real, that he loved Grace, not Eleanor Smith. 3 months passed faster than Liam expected. The day his undercover assignment ended, fear wrapped around his chest. He took Grace to a quiet park and told her everything: his real name, his inheritance, his lie. He braced himself for anger, disgust, or heartbreak. Instead, Grace listened silently, tears streaming down her face. Not because he was rich, but because he had been afraid to trust her. She forgave him that day, though she didn't tell him everything in return. Not yet. Love, she realized, was fragile but resilient. When Liam, now Oliver again, asked her to come back to the city with him, she agreed, unaware that her own truth was about to collide with his world in the most explosive way possible. At the Jackson estate, Grace was treated as an embarrassment. Oliver's parents masked their horror poorly, assigning her chores, scrutinizing her manners, testing her worth. Grace endured it all quietly, scrubbing floors that gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers, her dignity unbroken. Oliver watched, torn between rage and shame, unaware that the woman he loved had once owned homes grander than this. The invitation to the Smith family anniversary gala arrived like a ticking clock. Oliver assumed it would be another society event to endure. Grace accepted silently, a knowing calm in her eyes. When the night came and she stepped onto the stage as Eleanor Smith, the guest of honor, the room froze. The Jacksons' world shattered in a single moment, and the truth finally stood naked before everyone. The revelation at the gala did not end in applause or outrage. It ended in silence, so loud it felt like judgment itself. Eleanor Smith stood beneath the chandelier lights with a calm that came only from long self-denial finally released. Every whisper in the room carried years of assumptions shattering at once. Oliver felt as though the ground beneath him had vanished. The woman he had loved as Grace, the cleaner mocked and dismissed, was now standing revealed as one of the most powerful heiresses in the country. Yet what stunned him most was not her wealth, but the quiet pain in her eyes as she scanned the faces of people who had humiliated her without knowing who she was. In that moment, Oliver understood the depth of her courage. She had chosen obscurity not out of weakness, but strength. Oliver's parents stood frozen, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and dawning shame. Memories rushed back to them, the orders barked, the insults disguised as advice, the way they had forced Eleanor to scrub floors to prove her gratitude. Each recollection now felt like a public indictment. Eleanor did not expose them with anger. She spoke calmly, explaining why she had chosen to live as Grace, why she had wanted love without titles or accounts. Every word landed heavier than accusation. Oliver's father, a man once feared in boardrooms, found himself unable to meet her eyes. That night, Oliver followed Eleanor outside, away from the noise and cameras. He apologized, not for lying, but for not seeing her fears sooner. Eleanor confessed her own deception at last, the relief in her voice trembling. They laughed softly through tears at the irony of it all. Two heirs running from the same prison of wealth, colliding by accident while disguised as ordinary people. For the first time since they met, there were no secrets between them. The days that followed were turbulent. The media exploded with speculation. twisting the story into something scandalous. Eleanor retreated briefly, not out of fear, but exhaustion. Oliver refused to let her face it alone. He visited her childhood home, not as a suitor of convenience, but as a man in love. Her mother, once obsessed with appearances, was forced to confront the consequences of control disguised as care. The confrontation was painful, layered with years of misunderstanding, but necessary. Back at Jackson Global Holdings, Oliver made decisions that shocked the board. Marcus Clark was exposed for misconduct and dismissed publicly, stripped of protection for the first time in his life. Oliver didn't enjoy the humiliation. He simply ensured accountability. The staff who had once whispered behind his back now saw him differently. Not as an heir, but as a leader shaped by experience. He implemented policies that valued dignity over hierarchy, inspired quietly by the woman who had cleaned those same halls unseen. Eleanor returned to work briefly, not as Grace, but not as an executive either. She wanted closure. Walking through the office as herself, she was met with shock, apologies, and tears. She forgave without ceremony, understanding how systems train people to look past humanity. Her forgiveness did not erase what happened, but freed her from carrying it forward. As months passed, Oliver and Eleanor rebuilt their lives deliberately. They dated openly but quietly, choosing private walks and shared meals over galas. Wealth remained, but it no longer defined the rhythm of their days. They spoke often about the lives they had lived undercover, about the lessons that could never be unlearned. Love, they discovered, was not diminished by truth. It was strengthened by it. The proposal did not happen in a palace or at a banquet. It happened in the same small park, where Oliver had first confessed his secret. He knelt without spectacle, offering not diamonds, but a promise, to choose honesty, humility, and partnership. Eleanor said yes without hesitation, tears blurring the city lights behind her. Their wedding was modest by society's standards, but monumental in meaning. Both families attended, not as dynasties, but as witnesses to transformation. Oliver's parents apologized publicly, not for reputation, but for harm. Eleanor's mother learned, finally, that love chosen freely was stronger than any alliance arranged. Years later, when asked how they met, Oliver and Eleanor would smile and say the truth, that they found each other while hiding from the world. And in doing so, they learned the only lesson that mattered. That true wealth is not inherited, displayed, or protected, but earned in the quiet moments when no one is watching. That's the end of the story. What did you learn about the story? Please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.